Monument Valley defines the American West in the imagination of moviegoers around the world. Over the decades, its iconic 1,000-foot buttes have been featured in countless Hollywood films and TV shows. The valley lies in the heart of the Navajo Nation, an area of 17 million acres near the borders of Utah and Arizona. Bigger than the state of West Virginia, it's the largest reservation in the country, and today it's home to nearly 300,000 people. Despite being an unforgiving environment, people have been calling the colorful deserts of the American Southwest home for millennia. Near the town of Camp Verde, Arizona, Montezuma's castle sits almost 100 feet high into a sheer limestone cliff. Built almost 1,000 years ago, the ruins contain 5 stories and almost 60 different rooms. Its strategic positioning offered great security to its original inhabitants. It's also the reason it survives so intact to this day. It was mistakenly called Montezuma's Castle by American pioneers who thought it was built by the Aztecs. Nowhere in the Southwest contains more spectacular examples of pre-Columbian ruins than Mesa Verde National Park in Colorado. At 50,000 acres, it contains the remains of more than 600 cliff dwellings, making it the largest archaeological park in the United States. Built primarily out of sandstone, mortar, and wooden beams over 1,000 years ago, their construction is credited to a group known as the ancestral Puebloans. This is Cliff Palace. It contains 150 rooms, and in its heyday, supported a population of almost 100 people, making it the largest structure of its kind in North America. Tree ring dating from Cliff Palace indicates building took place rapidly over a 20-year time span, but within 100 years of its construction, it was abandoned without warning. While the cause remains a mystery, it is believed that a series of extreme droughts may have forced the ancestral Puebloans to abandon the area. The cliff dwellings then sat untouched for hundreds of years. They were only rediscovered in the late 1800s by 2 ranchers combing the area for their stray cattle. Though inhabited continuously for almost 10,000 years, some of the most dramatic changes to the region's cultural landscape came during the Spanish colonial expansion and with the introduction of Christianity. Mission San Javier, 10 miles south of Tucson, was built in the late 1600s by Spanish missionaries. It is the oldest European structure in Arizona and is widely considered to be one of the finest examples of Spanish colonial architecture anywhere in the United States. Its brilliant white stucco and fusion of Spanish and Native American artistic motifs draw thousands of pilgrims annually. And remarkably, after 300 years, San Javier is still actively run by Franciscan monks. Although humans have had centuries to adapt to life in the desert, some of its older residents have had millions of years to perfect the art. The legendary saguaro cactus not only survives in the desert, by all measures, it thrives. It's only found in the Sonoran Desert region between Arizona, California, and northern Mexico, where its iconic shape covers the landscape. The 92,000-acre Saguaro National Park was created to preserve this unique habitat. Individual cactus can live 200 years. At full maturity, they can tower 40 feet and weigh over a ton. Every aspect of the plant is perfectly suited to life in the harsh Sonoran Desert. Saguaro's roots can dive several feet underground in search of water. Its waxy skin and barbs serve as a formidable defense. The spines on a saguaro can grow 3 inches long and are so sharp they can pierce the skull of a bighorn sheep. Throughout its long life, the cactus serves as an integral component of this desert ecosystem, providing food, shelter, and protection to other species, including humans. Where the Mojave and Colorado deserts meet, the unique elevation and climate forces its inhabitants to take fantastic shapes to survive. Joshua trees get their name from Mormon settlers traveling through the area in the 1800s. Their unique shape and seemingly outstretched arms reminded the pioneers of the biblical character Joshua, guiding them on their journey to the west. Their tough leaves point up, wicking moisture from the hot desert air. These desert succulents grow very slowly, sometimes barely 3 inches a year, but they can survive for centuries, in some cases over 1,000 years. Joshua trees grow continuously through their lifetimes. The biggest soar 50 feet tall and boast extensive root systems to match. Today, Joshua Tree National Park covers an area of over 1,200 square miles in Southern California and serves as a sanctuary for this unique ecosystem, unlike anywhere else on Earth. For much of recorded history, the Southwest has served as a vibrant crossroads for cultural exchange, and that still holds true today. Nestled in the heart of the Coconino National Forest, Sedona's main attraction is its stunning array of red sandstone mountains that glow at dusk and dawn. Sedona is famed for the spiritual connection people feel with the land here. Certain places exist throughout the area where people report to be overwhelmed with positive energy. They call a place like this a vortex. This lookout is Airport Mesa, one of the most popular vortexes. Over the years, Sedona has developed into a globally renowned center for spiritual practice and holistic wellness. Despite being a destination in its own right, Sedona has historically served for many as a gateway. From Arizona's southern deserts to its rugged North Country, most famous for its crowning glory, the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon is recognized worldwide as one of the Earth's most awe-inspiring landscapes. It's 277 miles long, 18 miles wide, and in some places over a mile deep. Over millions of years, the Colorado River sculpted this southern edge of the massive Colorado Plateau. windows into billions of years of Earth's natural history. On his visit in 1903, President Teddy Roosevelt declared, "In the Grand Canyon, Arizona has a wonder unparalleled throughout the rest of the world, the one great sight which every American should see." Sometimes referred to as the east rim of the Grand Canyon, Horseshoe Bend near Page, Arizona is theorized to have been formed around 6 million years ago. For reasons still debated by geologists, the entire Colorado Plateau region was violently and dramatically uplifted. This sudden elevation change trapped the Colorado River in its path, and over time it carved this spectacular bend as we see it today. Water is the lifeblood of the Grand Canyon, a force of erosion and sustenance. But life here is not for the faint of heart. Summer highs in the gorge exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit, while temperatures along the rims sink well below freezing. The canyon's interior is one of the most difficult to navigate places on Earth. The Grand Canyon has captivated man's imagination since its earliest visitors 12,000 years ago. For many ancient cultures, the canyon served as a gateway to the afterlife. In modern times, many of the dramatic features around the canyon draw their names from religions around the world, like the Tower of Ra, Odin's throne, or the Shiva Temple. The first Europeans to encounter the canyon were Spanish conquistadors in the 1500s on their quest for cities of gold in the Americas. Despite their boldest attempts, the Spanish armies were forced to turn back empty-handed. No Europeans would visit again for more than 200 years, when Spanish missionaries would return in search of a route from Santa Fe to the California coast. During the 1800s, American pioneers confronted the canyon on their journey to the west. And by the end of the century, the railroad had for the first time made tourism possible for many. Although the Grand Canyon is one of the most famous national parks in the United States, in recent years, nearby Zion Canyon in southern Utah has experienced a massive surge in popularity. In 2018, it boasted more visitors than Yellowstone or Yosemite. Its 15-mile-long canyon, 2,600 feet deep in some places, has made it a world-class destination for rock climbers and other outdoor enthusiasts. When they first arrived in the mid-19th century, the early Mormon pioneers were struck by the canyon's towering red sandstone walls and lush green floor. These are the temples of God, built without the use of human hands. This is Zion. By the time the Mormons arrived, the area had already been inhabited at various times throughout its history for almost 10,000 years, beginning with small groups of semi-nomadic hunter-gatherers. These are desert bighorn sheep. Despite their populations once being threatened due to overhunting and competition from domestic livestock, thanks to conservation efforts, the desert bighorn sheep has been experiencing steady population growth in protected areas like Zion around the United States. Zion's distinctive geology is a result of its position along a stress zone on the Earth's surface. Along with the Grand Canyon, Zion makes up a piece of what geologists refer to as the Grand Staircase, a gigantic sequence of sedimentary rock that spans the areas of northern Arizona and southern Utah. Seismic amounts of heat, pressure, and time sculpted these colorful layers of stone, giving us the distinctive landscape in this part of the world today. Bryce Canyon in southern Utah sits at the very top of the Grand Staircase. The canyon is a gigantic collection of natural amphitheaters, painted in all shades of red, orange, and white. Surrounded on all sides by deserts, this highland plateau receives much more rainfall than the area around it. Erosion from rainwater and frost wedging from the cold Utah winters have sculpted the earth into fantastic slot canyons and stone spires called hoodoos. Bryce is home to the highest concentration of hoodoos anywhere on the planet. Though they range greatly in size, some within the park soar as high as 200 feet. At only 55 square miles, Bryce is smaller than neighboring Zion or Grand Canyon, and its remote location means it draws far fewer visitors. But those willing to make the journey are treated to some of the best air quality in the entire country on the clearest days approaching 200 miles of visibility. Pushing even further north into Utah, along the Colorado River, Arches National Park contains the highest density of natural arches on the planet. It contains more than 2,000 different sandstone arches in an area of 100 square miles. These perfectly architectured passageways have been drawing the attention of human visitors since at least the last ice age. Formed from eons of wind, rain, and ice, today, Arches attracts over 1 million visitors annually. Though the park's terrain may appear durable, this high desert ecosystem is extremely fragile. High in the Utah mountains, the park receives an average of less than 10 inches of yearly rainfall. This leaves the delicate habitat of the microorganisms that live in the dry soil around the park extremely vulnerable to foot traffic. This is Mesa Arch. It overlooks Canyonlands National Park in southern Utah. In the early 1950s, the superintendent of Arches National Park began exploring these vibrantly colored canyons, mesas, and buttes carved by the Colorado and Green Rivers. His interest and advocacy for the area would eventually result in the establishment of Canyonlands National Park, which today covers over 300,000 acres and attracts almost 1 million visitors a year. Stretching over 3 million acres near the borders of California and Nevada, Death Valley is the largest national park in the contiguous United States. It's as extreme a landscape as anywhere on Earth. It's the driest place in the United States, receiving less than 2.5 inches of annual rainfall. It's also the lowest place in the country, almost 300 feet below sea level. But Death Valley is perhaps most infamous as being the hottest place in North America. Summer temperatures often top 120 degrees in the shade, with a scorching record temperature of 134 degrees Fahrenheit, the highest air temperature ever recorded at the surface of the Earth. In the desert sun, the salt flat's crystal surface expands, pushing the crust into rough, chaotic forms. The name Death Valley comes from a party of lost 49ers who were trapped in the valley while looking for a shortcut to the goldfields of California. In the early 20th century, Death Valley was mined heavily for its rich mineral deposits. Zabriskie Point is named after Christian Zabriskie, vice president of the Pacific Coast Borax Company. California. Here, lofty mountains and scorching deserts meet the waves of the Pacific Ocean. Today, millions of people call this coastal region home. It's also a habitat for thousands of unique plants and animals. These are northern elephant seals. Although they spend 90% of their life at sea, they occasionally come ashore to rest. The males can weigh over 5,000 pounds and are extremely territorial. Millennia of waves etching away at the California coast have created some of the most sought-after beachfront real estate on the planet. Henry Miller wrote, "Big Sur is the California that men dreamed of years ago. The earth as the Creator intended it to look." The name Big Sur was given to the area by Spanish explorers in the late 1700s, referring to the vast unexplored coastal region south of Monterey. Although California highways provided convenient access to remote regions across the state, their construction raised concerns from many residents about the impact of development on the environment. Today, 60% of the Big Sur coast is protected by the California government or owned privately, safeguarding the region's natural beauty for generations to come.